Next, getting disability payments for men and women who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. NewsHour correspondent Betty Ann Bowser has our story.
The combat injuries that Sergeant Daniel Webb suffered as an infantryman in Iraq have brought him to a pain management specialist at Colorado Springs Memorial Hospital.
All I know is he's on a night mission. He's walking. 1 minute I'm standing, next minute I'm on the ground.
Webb fell in a hole that night. He was given pain medication and continued his mission. But 1 week later, on another night mission, a wall fell on him. After that, his pain became severe.
It got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. It felt like I couldn't hardly walk, couldn't hardly move. Ouch.
An MRI showed 3 herniated discs, L3, 4, and 5. Doctors told Webb he was not a candidate for spinal fusion. So instead, they implanted a morphine pump to help ease the severe chronic pain.
The catheter actually is tunneled under the skin and connected here, and go ahead and roll back over, Dan, to the pump, so that the medicine then is pumped from the pump through the catheter to where the nerves come off the spinal cord.
If I didn't have it in me, I could hardly move because I would be in too much pain. I couldn't move. I mean, it just got to the point where my legs went numb. I've had my legs collapse out from under me because I guess it's a disc hitting on the nerve or whatever in the spinal cord.
Last week, after 6 years active duty and 7 years in the reserves, Sergeant Daniel Webb was given a medical discharge.
Pushing down.
Webb understands why the Army deemed him unfit for service, but what he doesn't understand, and what veterans advocates say is unfair, is the amount of money Webb received from the Army for his disability.
Ryan, you want to roll that back for him?
Webb was given a $30,000 disability severance from the Army and has moved his family off base and into a campsite until he can find affordable housing. Lawyer Ron Smith with Disabled American Veterans says the Army woefully underrated the severity of Sergeant Webb's injury and awarded him far too little in compensation.
It's a very bad decision for Sergeant Webb. His case has been terribly underrated, and the other bad news is that he's by no means alone. We've looked at this point at several hundred of these, and we have yet to find one that we looked at and we thought this was done right.
Disability compensation for soldiers deemed medically unfit for service is based on a rating system. That system has come under criticism as the number of casualties in Iraq grows. Injuries are evaluated by boards from each branch of the armed service and then given a rating or percentage based on the severity of the injury. Ratings are important because with a rating of 30% or higher, the soldier gets disability income and benefits for life. Webb was given a 10% rating.
The most egregious part of it is that he received a 10% disability rating. Now, this is a man who's in such intractable pain that it can only be partially relieved by constant injections of morphine through an implanted morphine pump.
Smith says high-level disability ratings have declined since the war began, a situation he says is hard to explain.
It's about keeping faith with the people who are defending the country. The soldiers and sailors who were in Iraq and Afghanistan didn't pick that war. They're doing the job they agreed to do for you and for me and for everyone in the United States of America. In exchange for that, they were told that if bad things happened to them, they would have benefits that would help them and their families, compensate them for the losses that they sustained.
Some of the problems, he says, could be in the way the military perceives injuries, like traumatic brain injury, severe pain, or post-traumatic stress disorder, because they're less obvious.
There is a prejudice in the system against the disabilities that you can't see. If you go to either the Army or the VA and you've lost your left leg below the knee, it's pretty clear what your disability is, and there's a very specific disability rating for that. But there's a lot of suspicion about people with mental disorders in particular.
One clear and right.
The Army acknowledges that some injuries are very subjective and say new efforts are being made now to identify traumatic brain injury, or TBI, and post-traumatic stress disorder, known as PTSD. Brigadier General Reuben Jones oversees the physical evaluation process for the Army.